Right, we're live.
We're live.
We are. We are recording.
Hey, everyone out there in social media land. I'm Elia, and next to me is my beautiful friend, Amanda.
Hello.
And we're sitting here. What is this, Tech Square?
Yes.
And it is a beautiful, gorgeous day here in Atlanta. The weather is just perfect. The sun is shining. I mean, this is one of those you just want to go outside and walk and pick the flower days.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Which is part of why I've even decided to record this with my friend who so graciously decided to film us. But the purpose of us even sitting here together and speaking is to discuss homelessness. And before we get into any details or anything, I'm going to first give what I feel and felt like homelessness was before I even started getting into advocacy for this, which is you don't have no place to stay. That's just that simple. And when I'm saying you don't have a place to stay, that's including sleeping on your friend's couch for 2 weeks, or your auntie's couch, or your grandmother's garage, or in the park, or wherever. But it's not your permanent address and you don't pay rent here. I look at that, and I was looking at that as being homeless. So if you didn't have your name on a bill and you didn't have to pay rent, I pretty much determined that to be homeless. So that was what homelessness was to me. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think I understood it as you don't have a home that you can go to every night where there's never going to be the chance that anyone could kick you out. That is your home. So that's what having a home would be. So homelessness would be you don't have that place to go. Um, that secure place where you're definitely always have the roof, maybe a bed, some place to go to that's there for you, no questions, because you can afford it, or because you're getting some assistance, but you have a home to go to at night.
And so, as you can see, though we kind of explain some similar ideas and concepts, there are some differences. And when you actually start delving into homelessness and you look up the laws about homelessness, you will find that that's pretty ambiguous too, people. I urge anyone that wants to advocate for the homeless out there in the world to first look up the laws about homelessness. See what that means on a federal level. First, Google it. After you give your own definition, as we have, Google it.
Google hard.
Google homeless and see what homeless means. Then find out what it means on a state level, your local, your state, and then find out what it means on the federal level. And what you will find is that Amanda and I actually represent the definition of homelessness. It's no one definition. Now, I can be corrected. I'll leave an area when it hits my channel for you to hit a like button and leave a comment in the comments below so that we all can learn together.
You break that down, and we just kind of like drew this diagram of like homeless and then sheltered, unsheltered. What does sheltered mean?
And sheltered homelessness means this: you can either be in a transitional house or you can be in a facility like a Salvation Army where you can be housed for 90 days. Now, when you're housed there, you can use those addresses, but they're not permanent addresses. So it really, then the term sheltered versus unsheltered begins to be the legal terms that are used. So that's why sometimes you're filling out, let's say, an Amazon for something you ordered off Amazon, and they'll have, is this your permanent address or is this your mailing address? Because then by listing that, it begins to define you, the citizen, as far as your status and your living and where you live. And so that begins to be in the thing we discussed before, your residency, where you reside, and exactly where are you residing. So sheltered homelessness means you're in some type of transitional or federally funded
housing.
facility and
Yeah.
housing.
So
So
it could be, you described, like it could be a hotel
it could be a
because
hotel.
someone has to find a place to live for a
Right.
little bit, and that's considered documented sheltered.
That's sheltered.
Now, so that's sheltered. The unsheltered.
The unsheltered, you are living in places either deemed unlivable conditions or just basically hazardous for humans living. And so that could be a car, that could be your car. Your car is not
Sheltered.
adequate place for living. Even though there are many people that are living out the trunk of their car, they are considered unsheltered homeless. So you could live in an abandoned building, but that also includes jails.
Mm.
Jail. So most of us we didn't know this, but when you live in a jail, you're homeless.
Wow.
That is
So
not.
that's in the official count.
That's
the way they.
and as I delve into this and begin to explain the laws, the federal laws, it will let you know that staying in a incarcerated facility, you're unsheltered.
Hmm.
So they are not counted as individuals in a sheltered facility. They're classified totally different.
So what if you're staying at your cousin's house or your aunt's house on the couch? Are you considered homeless?
That will depend. That's a great question because again, in my definition, if your name is not on the lease and you're not paying bills, you're homeless. You're just a guest, and you can
Right.
be put out at any
Right,
given
exactly.
time.
You could be put out at any time.
Unfortunately, for many out there that are in this particular situation, read your laws. No, you are
Mhm.
not considered homeless if you're staying in this type of legal residence past 30 days.
Okay.
So, up until day 30, you may be listed as homeless depending on which type of organization you would go to for help,
Right.
for
Okay.
assistance. For
Mhm.
housing assistance, it depends. That's a
Mhm.
dependent situation. In
Mhm.
some cases, they will not classify you as homeless
Mhm.
because you actually have a sheltered place to go to.
Okay.
It may not be your permanent resident, but you may fall up under temporary sheltered individual. But you are not going to be classified as an unsheltered individual. Legally, by law, and they do this, it varies from state to state, but I know in California, this is law, and it's law here in Georgia. If someone stays in your home past 30 days, you have to legally evict them in order for their get out to be actually law abiding. You had to go. So in other words, you have to go down to the courts and file an eviction notice, just like a bank would have to do. And those laws changed around the time of the housing crisis.
Okay.
It was really a law put in place to protect homeowners from banks taking over their homes in foreclosure and just coming in and putting them on the street.
Mhm.
But the law applies to all citizens. So if you house someone for longer than 30 days, they are legally now a resident of your home. And some people, you can research this, some Airbnb properties have ran into that because the person stayed longer than
Right.
30 days.
Right. Right.
And so they
Huh.
they could legally say, I live here. And then the people that own that A and B property
Yeah.
had to go evict them, had to go to court, get an eviction notice, and then have them put out.
Wow. Wow.
So that's just
really
and-
complex.
so when you say homeless and homelessness and you choose to advocate for it, the first suggestion I have for anyone is to first research what homeless and homelessness is. What does it even mean? And where are you with that definition before you begin to say, well, where am I going to advocate? Who am I advocating for? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? Because my friend Amanda asked me that all the time. She's always asking me, so Eli, what's the point?
goal?
What's the goal? I'm like, I'm working on it. But this is part of the goal. Us doing this particular video here in beautiful Tech Square. The whole goal right now is awareness. First, there's an awareness, and we have to all, in our hearts, ask ourselves, are we really, really knowledgeable on what our federal government is saying when they say the homeless and help the homeless. Is it that one group of individuals you always see on the TV pushing the cart? You know how they have the lady with the
Right.
grocery cart full of stuff, and every
Yeah.
time you see them, they're
Bags.
the homeless. Is that what we're saying when we're saying homeless?
Mhm.
Or are you the parent that has the unwanted child there sleeping on your couch, not working, and you're calling them a bum? Is
Mhm.
that person homeless? Or what is our definition? And when we get to the definition, where do we go from there?
Yeah.
So right now, this is just me and Amanda sitting here discussing it. And how do you feel about, what was your thoughts on sheltered versus unsheltered? What are just your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm starting to understand why there are several definitions that then bring about different strategies. But my concern is that we get to pick and choose the definition and then come up with an official count that then determines the funding and the programming. And if we're using a definition that isn't truly representing homelessness, we aren't going to be having the funding and the programming to truly address homelessness.
Right.
So I think that's my kind of first main concern is how do we start to engage with folks who are getting to set definitions and kind of ground truth those definitions
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
and see
Absolutely.
how we can affect some of that sort of official knowledge about homelessness.
Which is, and that's very important because I have a few other friends, they're from different countries, and homeless here in the United States does not apply to homelessness in Brazil. Homelessness in Brazil doesn't apply to homelessness in Africa. It's dependent on where you go because I have friends from overseas and they get here and they'll say, well, look, overseas I wasn't really poor, but when I got to the United States, I'm poor. Although they don't see themselves as a poor individual, neither were they raised to think of themselves as that. But I have friends that have come here from different countries and realize when they got here that they're poor when they get here. If they go back to their home native country, they are not poor citizens at all. A lot of them are educated, college graduates, but when it comes to the United States of America, they're poor. So let's also remember when we're speaking about homelessness, we're speaking about a specific place, the United States of America. We have to keep the definition for here. And then as we go forward, and you'll see me do more videos with different groups of individuals, that we know that it's based off of where you're located, even in the United States of America. Because it's always going to be context. Yeah. And the word homelessness, like Amanda's pointing out, is no one defined definition. If I ask you, well, what's a house? You can begin to quickly assess, hey, this is what a house is. Even though home is where you put your heart, a house is a specific thing.
That's a really good point.
And so when we say homeless, what are we saying? And that's the whole point of this video. It's really fun to see her, my buddy.
It is.
We'll probably do this again in the future as we go forward, as being discussed. Maybe we'll come with a playbook. What do you think?
Yes, a playbook.
A guide for those that may be experiencing homelessness, those that want to know about homelessness and wants to join an advocacy group, and how can I be helpful? And it may help to have a playbook just to help people that want to help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
To help.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. Help the help.
Help to help. Maybe that's what we'll name it. Help the helpers.
Right.
Hey, we're working on the name.
They need it, but they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's really cool that you're documenting this process. It's
Yes.
like super transparent, and it's sort of like, this is where we are. We're kind of in the mess figuring out how to strategize.
Well, and I think it's important especially for me, because I've experienced both the unsheltered, sleeping on the side of the road with the sleeping bag. Yes, me, the handsome one.
I'm handsome.
You're gorgeous. You're not handsome. She's not handsome. She's gorgeous. And then you go from an individual that slept on the side of the road to experiencing staying in a shelter environment, in a program, in a rehabilitation program. I don't mind saying that. and then going from there to permanent housing and how that looks. And no, I didn't do this in a 3 year span. This took some years. So now, me turning around as an individual, wanting to better understand this, is so that I can best help those when I go to facilitate classes at the Salvation Army, which I still do. I love to do it. I work with mentor different individuals that have, substance problems, and we all get together and I talk about our problems, our issues, and just for the general public, some that are out there enabling and don't know they're enabling, we can help you in the status with the person you're finally tired of enabling them. But how come I can't just legally say go and they don't have to?
Yeah.
And the police come and arrest you. So you want to know these things, and it all will lead to housing. Eventually, you'll find out about affordable housing. You'll get into HUD bash. It will lead you into understanding housing in this country. But I think it only fair that we start from the bottom and find out what's happening on the ground level before we can even go to some city council or anything and say, hey, look, we as a city, a state, and a nation need to change how we're defining homeless and homelessness. With that, you have anything you want to add?
No, I couldn't add anything more. I'm excited to be on this journey with you.
So yes, it is, and it's hey, let's just talk with Eli.
That's right. I recommend it. Talk with Eli.
Have a great day, everyone.